Hello, my name is Zach Neely, and I will be talking about Ronda Rousey and the changing money cycle of mixed martial arts. Fighter salaries. According to an economist that researched the UFC fighters' pay, the average fighter on the roster makes $24,500 per fight. Ronda Rousey is now the biggest paid UFC fighter in the UFC, making a total of $6.5 million since she began her time in the UFC. She had previously fought for rival Strikeforce until they were bought out by the UFC. Rousey's fortune can be attributed to her meteoric rise as arguably the most popular female athlete in the world. Even though it is estimated that the average UFC fighter is paid $24,500 every time he or she steps inside the octagon, it is important to note that the UFC keeps many specifics of their fighter rates under lock and key due to media scrutiny. Reason for Rousey's fortune. In order to understand what caused Ronda Rousey's rise to fame and wealth, one must look at her body of work. Unlike any other female fighter, she has finished all of her opponents and all but one in the first round. Now that changed over the weekend when she lost her title to rival Holly Holm. Rousey is known to be a world-class judoka who is still developing her striking ability. Her trademark armbar has finished 9 of her 12 opponents. Ronda is also arguably the sole reason for there being a female presence in the UFC, as prior to her rise in popularity. UFC President Dana White was adamant about not bringing a female division to the organization due to a lack of widespread talent. Overall, Rousey has brought more female fans into the market in mixed martial arts, with new dominance as a champion. Rousey has also developed a large male fan base due to her beauty as well as her talent. Jack of all trades. In addition to her success as a fighter, Rousey is also an actress and model. Rousey has been featured in the films Expendables 3, Fast and Furious 7, Entourage, and is also scheduled to be in Mile 22 and the Roadhouse remake that are scheduled to be released in 2016. Rousey is also featured in various commercials such as Metro PCS and Hardee's Carl's Jr. Her involvement in various media outlets provide audiences who are non-MMA fans a chance to become exposed to the sport and bring in more money to the market. The money cycle. The money cycle of mixed martial arts is extremely complex and at times downright confusing. There are a few points that are necessary to understand before making an opinion about the distribution of wealth in the UFC. Number 1. UFC has a virtual monopoly over the sport, much like the NFL or the NBA does over their sports. The UFC used to have rivals Pride and Strikeforce, but they soon bought them out once they went bankrupt. The only way for fighters to be seen as relevant is to fight the best fighters who are in the UFC, so there is little mobility to go to a second-class organization. Fighters are not employees of the UFC, but are independent contractors and therefore don't apply for employee benefits, such as developing fighter unions. The UFC keeps most information about specifics to finances in-house, as stated before, due to media scrutiny. The Reebok deal. In the past year, the most controversial topic of mixed martial arts has been the implementation of the Reebok uniform deal. This deal provides fighters a universal sponsor, Reebok. Fighters are required to wear only Reebok material inside the octagon. They're not allowed to wear or represent any other sponsor of the UFC organized events. Each fight, a fighter is provided a certain amount of money based on their ranking, sales, and status. However, it is important to note that most fighters only earn a small amount from this deal, around $2,500 per fight. This also affects how sponsors view their sponsees. If fighters no longer allowed to wear a company's apparel, then there is no need for a brand to keep a fighter. This results in fighters losing money over time. In conclusion, there are many aspects to the money cycle of mixed martial arts, but there is no doubt that Ronda Rousey has changed the game forever. The sport is continuing to grow and become more mainstream. Fighters like Rousey being the face of the sport will bring more audiences to the market and expand the amount of money being generated. As Rousey and the owners of the UFC continue to earn millions, it will be interesting to see how the recent developments such as the Reebok deal affect the community as a whole and the distribution of wealth. Thank you.